Good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Marie Holiday, and I hope everybody had a great day today. And today is Wednesday, November 4th, 2020. And before we get started, I just want to remind all my viewers and subscribers to hit that subscribe button and notification button so you can be notified of ongoing uploads. And so with that being said, let's get on down to business. The focus of this lecture is I'm going to go into talking about relapse mode part 2, especially during the holidays. That's a critical moment time for people who are in sobriety or who are in maintenance phase of sobriety. So the focus of this lecture is going to be relapse mode part 2. Be aware of the holidays. Relapse mode part 2. Be aware during the holidays. And first of all, before I get into talking about that, I just want to share with the audience on what exactly does relapse mean. And I really do encourage the audience to view some of my prior videos where I talk about some topics of relapse and signs of relapse during the holidays, so you can kind of be up speed on where I'm going with this. But first of all, real briefly, relapse is when a person is no longer in the maintenance phase of recovery. And what I mean by the maintenance phase of recovery, they may have been in have removed the alcohol, the drugs, the gambling out of their life for weeks, months, years. In the field of addiction, that's what we call the maintenance phase. And they've done some things, a lot of things over the years to sustain or to have kept the alcohol, the drugs out of their life. Rather it's support from family, or rather it's gambling anonymous groups, or AA groups, or NA groups, or working from time to time with a counselor, making changes in their lifestyle. You know, or staying away from certain people, places, and things. They've gotten rid of the old lifestyle and they have reclaimed a new, healthier lifestyle. That's what maintenance phase of recovery is. But relapse is when a person, the alcoholic or the drug addict or the gambling addict, is no longer in the maintenance phase. They have returned to old behavior. The gambling, the alcohol, the drug use. They've started hanging around the old people, places, and things. So that's what relapse is. So I'm going to talk about some indicators or some processes that can occur before the person actually consumes the alcohol or drugs, or return back to gambling. It's a process before that people go through to get the relapse. And I'm going to talk about 3 categories of processes. I'm going to talk about change in attitude. That's one category. I'm going to talk about change in feeling or mood is the second category. And I'm going to talk about change in thoughts. All of these different categories and their topics I'm going to talk about within each category are indicators that the person is in relapse mode. So pay attention. When I talk about change in attitude, the alcohol or the drug addict or gambling will begin to not care about their sobriety. You're not going to hear them talking about their positive lifestyle, or talking about that last support group they may have gone to, AA group, NA group, Gambler Anonymous. So they're not going to begin to, they're going to no longer care about maintaining their healthy lifestyle. You also, in that attitude, you're going to see that the person may begin to get cocky with their recovery. They may begin to verbalize, oh, I ain't got to worry about nothing. I've been sober for 5 years, or 10 years, or 15 years. I ain't got to worry about going to support groups. I don't have to worry about listening to family. I got this. I got it under control. So they get cocky with their recovery when we're looking at the attitude. Another indicator that we begin to see is they begin to not care about what's happening in their life. They begin to not care about what's happening in the home, what's happening in the community, what's happening on the job. Just a more I don't care attitude, we begin to see that. And also under the category of change in attitude, we begin to see that the person is becoming to have a negative, just an outlook on life, just negative and pessimistic in all areas of their life, becoming too negative, becoming too pessimistic to the point you wonder, is this even the same person? So all of those that I just described will fall under attitude, change in attitude. And then we're going to talk about, after I drink my coffee, we're going to also see in the second category change in feeling or mood. Change in feeling or mood. For example, you may begin to observe the person with increased moodiness or depression. Some indications of depression may be, problem sleeping, change in appetite, just not quite being their vibrant self. So we'll begin to see a change in feeling or mood. We will also begin to see strong feelings of anger at themselves or others. Easily irritated, become easily angry. That's another indicator that we see under the category of feelings of mood. Increased feelings of boredom. Because if they're pulling away from the sponsor, pulling away from the support group, the AA group, the NA group, or it's a lot of other functions that people in recovery do throughout the year. They have the sobriety annual functions. They get on bowling leads. So it's a lot of activities that they do throughout the year. But if the person is pulling away from that, you will begin to see increased feelings of boredom. Another indicator that you got to watch out for under feelings of mood is the person may begin to tell war stories to family members or people that they may be sitting down talking to. They're going to begin to romanticize their past active addiction. They're going to tell war stories about the things they did and how much they could drink or how much drug they can use and acting silly. So they begin to tell all these alcohol or drug related or gambling war stories. That's another indication that they're in relapse mode. And another indication that falls under the category of changing in feeling or mood is the person may begin to look to find faults in others as an excuse to use. Well, I'm mad at my mother, I'm mad at my sister, I'm mad at my brother, a significant other, I'm mad at my supervisor, mad at the job. So they may begin to look to find faults in others as an excuse to use. So now let's look at the category of change in thoughts. And what some of the indicators we see in this category is in changing of the thinking, changing of the thought. The person may tell themselves, well, I've been in maintenance phase for 6 months or 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. They may begin to think and tell themselves that they deserve to use the alcohol or deserve to use the drugs because they have been sober for several months or several years. The holidays are coming up, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. So they begin to start thinking and telling themselves that they've been in maintenance phase for so long that I deserve to use now. So that falls under the category of change in thought. Another example that falls under the category of change in thought is the person may begin to think that they do not need to attend or continue to attend the NA support groups, the AA support groups, the Gambling Anonymous support groups. So they may begin to think that they don't need to go to those meetings anymore because they feel better. They may begin to think that they don't need to be called that sponsor in rough times because they feel better. So all of this is going on up here in the mind, and that's why I put it under the category of change in thought. And all this ties in that the person is in relapse mode. They getting further and further away from the maintenance stage of recovery. Another thing that we may begin to see under this category, the person may think that the alcohol and other drug problems are cured. They haven't been in maintenance phase for so long. They're cured because they haven't used for so many weeks or so many months. But what happens, because the disease of addiction, alcoholism, drug addiction, and gambling addiction is a very deceptive disease. Because what's going to happen the minute they take that one drink or that one use of drug or purchase that one scratch off, what's going to happen, they're going to release that addiction all over again, because I don't care how long they've been in recovery. Something about, because the disease of addiction is a body and brain disease. When people use a excessive amount of alcohol and drugs, what happens is the brain and the body begins to need the alcohol or drugs in order to function normally. So when people go into recovery, I don't care how long they've been in recovery from the alcohol or drugs, and when they relapse and reuse again, that body don't recognize, the brain in the body don't recognize just one drink or a little bit of drug use. The brain in the body is going to pick up where it left off. So if a person prior to going in recovery, I don't care if they've been in recovery for 10 years, but prior to getting in recovery, their use was astronomical. High amounts of alcohol and drugs, that's where the body is going to pick up and just skyrocket deeper into the addiction. Because the body is not going to recognize that one drink or that one small use of drugs. The body is in the brain is going to recognize, no, this is the level you stop at. It don't matter if you've been in recovery, the addiction is released and it will come with a vengeance. And many times, that's why we say around the holidays, in the field of addiction, we get really busy, because unfortunately, you know, people relapse if they don't have strong support in working with their sponsor, strong family support, and recognize that it don't matter how long you've been in recovery, the body does not forget, the brain does not forget. So those are some indicators of being in relapse mode in the main three categories that I talked about: change in attitude, change in your feeling or mood, and change in your thoughts. So that is what I wanted to present in terms of relapse mode in relation to the holidays. So with that being said, audience, that's all I have. Pass this information on to someone who can benefit from it. And I will see you all again next time. Simplify. Have a great evening.